Music is the soundtrack of our lives. Most of us access our personal movie score via iPads, iPhones, or some other MP3 player. Not Rita Harriet Rappaport Greenstein. For Rita, music is her life, and it's live surround sound.
Music was the main trunk of my tree, so to speak. I started being in music when I was 3, 4, 5 years old because of my parents. My mother would know what kind of a day I had because after I put my books down and took off my coat, I would sit down at the piano. And depending on how I played, she would know whether I had a good day or a bad day.
The live music is courtesy of the Jupiter Chamber Music Group. How these professional musicians turned up in Rita Greenstein's living room, we'll get to in a little bit. It's just one of the ways this 83-year-old keeps herself involved with music and the arts.
This place is so alive with music that you cannot possibly partake of everything, even in one day, of what happens in one day.
As a young mother, Rita's story was like thousands of others. Married, with small children, the family moved out of New York City and headed to the suburbs of Long Island.
I was married in 1948, and I had my first child in 1952. I was a graduate of NYU to be a music teacher in the public school system. And after I had my first child, I graduated, of course, and I went to take the test, the certification test in New York City, but I was pregnant. So I didn't want to take the physical. I didn't know what the physical meant, so they said, okay, we'll delay it 2 years. And 2 years later, I already had my second child, and I was on my way to having my third child. By then, we had moved out to Long Island. I was busy at the time. I was singing in New York, so I was going into New York constantly. I was busy with my temple. I ended up being president of my temple, my sisterhood. I was busy with the Girl Scouts because my children were Girl Scouts. I was all over the place. My husband, God bless him, he supported everything. And my friends used to say, Rita, did you ever watch his face when you're doing your thing? I said, why would I watch him? Watch him. He absolutely glows with what you do.
Her husband's death presented Rita with a choice: stay in the suburbs or move back to the city.
I was still busy with everything. We had always gone into New York to the theater, to the opera, the ballet. We had series subscriptions, and it was wonderful. And then when he died, I kept on going, and the girls said, Mom, you've got a house. You have to worry about snow in the winter, the roof, the electricity, one thing after another. You don't belong there. You should be in New York. You're there all the time anyway. Long Island was very easygoing, slow-moving, gentle, comfortable. New York is alive. New York crackles with excitement. New York is fun to be in. The only way I can describe it is like going to a restaurant, to a smorgasbord restaurant that's got 1,000 miles of food, and you can take whatever you want, and you can go back and take more, or you can reject, and that's what I've been doing, and I love it.
Rita embraced her new urban life. She made the decision to donate her time to some of the city's most compelling and interesting cultural institutions. One is a small museum within walking distance, the Mount Vernon Hotel Museum on East 61st Street.
My shtick is, I tell them, you see the door you walk through, it's a magic door. On one side of the door, it's today. On this side of the door, it's a long time ago. It's so long ago, they didn't even have electricity. They didn't have television, no electric lights. I mean, you've got to act it, you've got to really be in the moment. Before I take the kids in, I ask them to close their eyes and take a look at their kitchen, and then tell me what they see in their kitchen, and they'll tell me a refrigerator, a dishwasher, a sink, all those things, a stove. And then I said, okay, let's go in and see what the kitchen was a long time ago. And their reaction is, where's the refrigerator? Where's the microwave? I said, well, how can they have a microwave? What makes the microwave run? Electricity. I said, well, oh, that's right, they didn't have electricity. You know, you got to play on them. And the kids are wonderful.
Rita has an answer to the old joke about how to get to Carnegie Hall. You know the punchline: practice, practice, practice. Rita made her way there after a 3-month training course, learning the history of the hall. She's a docent and proud to share her knowledge with visiting tour groups.
Well, I bring excitement to it because I think it's a spectacular place. You give them, in the lobby, you give them the history of the lobby and the basic thing, you know, that there were really 3 halls, that it was opened in 1891, and that kind of stuff. They're thrilled. They look at the pictures. The pictures go back to 1892, 93, 94, and they're all hanging there. And they're amazed that so many people, and many of them do recognize all of those old names. The school kids, of course, know. They'll recognize the modern names. But they're very impressed that we have this wonderful history. For me, the most exciting thing is when we go upstairs, you take the elevator, you go up to the dress circle, and you tell them, when we get there, you're going to walk out and stop. And inevitably they say, oh my God. And then that to me is the essence of the whole tour. I love that.
So how do the musicians find their way to Rita's open door? As she tells it, it all started with a small ad in a music program.
I saw on the program saying that we thank so-and-so for whatever it was, for their accommodations or something. So I asked the woman in charge, what is this? Oh, those are people who allow us to rehearse in their homes. I said, hey, I can do that. So I said, come. And they've been coming.
Crescendo here.
The music is worthwhile. It's worthwhile hearing more than once. The people who perform them are not only wonderful musicians, they're delicious people. They're charming, they're friendly, they're open, and the music sounds that they give of themselves to us. Max Landau, I met when he was 7 years old, and it turns out Max is quite talented. And so things got bigger and bigger, and he ended up, they brought him to this Jupiter Chamber thing as a pianist. He played a duet with his father, I think was the first time I heard him. And everybody was astounded because it was musical, it was correct, it was well done, it was done with ease and comfort. The next time I heard him, he was playing a trio with a cellist and a violinist, and again, you didn't think, oh, this is a little kid showing off. This was an accomplished pianist at a very lower level that you enjoyed. And he has grown steadily since then, and he's just a delightful boy. When he sits down at the piano, he's a pianist. He's not just a little boy.
I love it. I love every piano. There's not one piano I don't like.
Well, I think that
There's singing, too. Rita is a member of the New York Choral Society.
I said, hey, I can sing. I've been singing all my life. I go to Summer Sings, and one year they said they were having auditions. I said, oh, that sounds great. So I went, I auditioned, and I was accepted. Singing with the group has been a solidifying part of my musical career, even though it's only volunteering. It's kept me focused, it's kept me excited about music because I'm performing and I'm not making a show of myself. There are accountants, doctors, lawyers, chefs, sculptors, you name it. The variety is amazing. Students too. But there's one purpose, there's one commitment that we have, that is to make music. We back ourselves down as people, as individual people, to be a part of the group, to mesh, to make music together.
The singing, nurturing young musicians, it all comes back to music. She says, music makes me feel everything. It's what Rita calls her good life. But in the spring of 2012, cancer threatened Rita's good life. The most recent scare was the latest in the battle she's fought with the lethal disease.
In 2000, after several other incidents like that, they found out that I had cancer. And they did a lumpectomy, and I went through radiation, and I was fine. This last time, I went for the mammogram, and the doctor said, no, let's do a second mammogram. So they did another one, and no, let's do what's the other test they do? I forgot the name of it. I tell you, you get to be 83 and your memory goes. So they did another test, and they didn't like that one. This is all on the same day. And she says, I think you better come for a core biopsy. Well, I've had that before. I don't like it because they stick a needle into you the size of a number 10 knitting needle. That's as thick as my pinky practically. And they take junk out of you. So I went and I had that done, and they said, oh, it was just scar tissue, you're fine. But until they say you're fine, you go through hell. So I went through a week of hell, and now when I go back next year for the mammogram, the same thing's going to happen, and I'm going to say, you know what? You can take your knitting needle and go stick it someplace else. But it was a big awakening that I am not immortal, and my good life is not going to continue, and I better face up to it, and I better start slacking down on some of the things that I'm doing. And I haven't, because I can't. What am I going to give up?
At the top of Rita's list of what not to give up will be, for her family, the social event of 2012. Her much-loved granddaughter, Lauren, will be getting married, and Rita just can't wait to show off the dress she'll be wearing to the ceremony.
My daughter was in California visiting her two sisters, and they went to a store and saw the perfect dress. And they bought it. They knew my size, everything wonderful. They brought it home. It's a gorgeous dress. I tried it on. It was the wrong size. Myra, that's my New York daughter, she said, Mom, they're showing the same thing in Lord & Taylor's. So I went to Lord & Taylor's, and they didn't have the color that they had originally bought, but they had this gorgeous cornflower blue dress. Same style, long, in the right size. I tried it on, and the woman there says, my God, it's made for you. It fits. It was perfect. So I bought it. And when I hear them play, Here Comes the Bride, I will break down. My grandchildren, and every grandmother knows this, my grandchildren are the most precious things in my life. And to see them happy, and to see them go on to the next step in life is such a wonderment. It's such a fulfillment. It's such an evaluation of what I am, to see that what I created has created more and more, and that life keeps on going.